Hey, welcome to Camping with Steve. We're headed into bear country, Grizzly to be specific. Grizzlies and blacks out here. It's about an hour and a half drive from my house until I can get into the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. So that's fantastic for this type of adventure. I've had a stressful week. I was going to do a stealthy one today, but just with all the taxes, I really need a break from anything stressful. I got my taxes done in the split second right before it was a late penalty, so I'm happy about that. And there's a few neat things on the way. The rolling foothills here give way to the beautiful Rocky Mountains ahead of us, and I'll show you a few other things on the way, and then we're going to get some camping done. So let's go. This is really cool. There's a high spot here on the road, and we get a beautiful view of some snow-capped mountains through there. That's just great, and there's a little trail going down. I didn't want to take the car down here because it's a little rough, but thought I'd show you that. That's super cool. All right, we're at the campground, and the cell service lasted like right up until we basically got to the campground. So yeah, there is clearly in bear country here, but we'll just have to be careful and do things by the books. Virtually deserted. I love it. There we go, 11 bucks. No problem. Take my money. Now this is a campsite. These are the campgrounds I remember from when I was a kid. In the middle of nowhere, beautiful scenery, nobody around, free firewood, and dirt cheap. This is the holy grail. You can't ask for more for a campground. It takes a little more exploring on the back roads to find them, but when you do, oh, you got your own personal paradise. So moving on to step 2, because I'm going to be sleeping in the back of the SUV tonight, so there's nothing to really set up. And yeah, better get my fire started too, because the wood's free. Cheers. Be still my beating heart. This is sweet. One of the good tricks if you don't have one of those collapsible wheelbarrows to get firewood back to your site, and if you have the back of it set up with a mattress like I do, I bring just a camp chair and I load it up with some pretty green firewood. And I was informed that my chair is purple. I'm colorblind. I actually thought it was like a navy blue. I did not realize that. I would have probably picked a different color. Nothing wrong with purple, but I don't like to really have the campsites pop to anybody walking by. I want them to look a little more subdued. I think this is a load. The firewood is extremely free, but it's also extremely wet. This was just cut this year. So this is definitely a job for Blue Betty. There we go. Sleeping in the back of the SUV versus a tent in bear country gives me a little more of a sense of security. I know these things are not bear-proof by any stretch, and in fact, with enough time, a bear could probably crack that door open like a delicious frosty mouth-watering beer. But that should give me enough time to honk the horn, start it up, drive away, all those types of things that could keep me a little safer. Because I know this place is probably crawling with humongous, roving, bloodthirsty grizzlies, and we don't need those problems around here. If I saw a black bear, that would put my mind at ease a little, because I know their territories don't normally overlap, and the black bears are more skittish. They'll run away if they see you. And unless they're a real well-known problem bear, they probably wouldn't be at a campsite anyways. And once they're in a campsite, they don't last long, because there's a lot of eyes on them, and they'll get relocated or unfortunately destroyed if there is a big issue with them. However, that is the plan for tonight. Yeah. It's mosquito time because it's overcast, a little earlier than they normally come out. But I went to go pick up some more of these refills for the Thermacell, my beloved Thermacell, which I hold so near and dear to my heart. But they were all sold out. This is an old pack, and I'm out of the butane. I know they can be refilled. But right beside it, I saw these old relics from the 80s, tried, tested, and true mosquito coils. And it's all they had on the shelf, really. And then I looked at the ingredients, and it's this D-cis trans-elethren. And that's the same stuff that's in the Thermacell things. It says right on it. Now the Thermacell has 21.97% C-dis trans-elethren, or D-cis trans-elethren. And these have 35, so they actually got more of it in it. And each coil lasts for 7 hours. So this whole thing for $6 lasts 70 hours. And this 48 hours of the Thermacell refills last for, well, it was $33 for 48 hours. And I'm trying one out now. I was even brave enough to buy a little holder for it. And it's got a clip, you can hang it wherever. I don't know. We'll see how it works. And if it doesn't, I'll just get back to the Thermacell, but we may have been had, guys. I know this is, it looks kind of high-tech and, you know, cool and stuff, but it's the same exact thing, and you're burning them both the same, so we'll find out. It even smells the same. Yeah, I got one lit there, and it seems to be working so far, so I'll let you know the results. So, right behind the campsite, there's a nice little trail that goes all the way through the campsites, right along by the river. And it's running at about its fullest right now. June is usually the highest month, and it should crest towards the end of June, depending on the melt. I don't want to go down too close to it, but it is quite beautiful. And across the river there, that's not campground, that's just more crown land. And that's where I would expect to see a bear with their cubs out for a little drink on a beautiful June day at the river. Really doesn't seem to be very afraid of people. Probably been fed before. Okay, I'm feeling the first few sprinkles of a late spring rainstorm. So I'm gonna grab a little more firewood from the glory pile over there. And I'm a little ill-prepared for rain. I trusted the forecast. So I may have to pop the hatch and just tailgate it for a little by the fire here to stay dry, but no harm in that. It's sprinkling a little bit, so I'm just under this perfect overhang here. It's one of the nice features with the SUV, and some people ask quite a bit, you know, what do you actually need to go camping? Some people have never camped before and they're watching the channel. You know, if you got an SUV where the seats can fold down and you can fit in it, you're pretty much there. The rest is just a few other bits and pieces to make yourself a little more comfortable. Mosquito coils maybe. So this is a super convenient, easy way to get started camping, and then you're never really far from your car if you forgot something. So it's definitely a good way to get started camping, and also if you're a little afraid of bears, it's a darn good thing to have, you know, 1,000 pounds of steel around you, that's for sure. I figured I'd point this out. It's one of the few plants I can identify, as I'm not a bushcrafter, but this is a wild rose, Alberta's provincial flower. And you can see on it, there are some dried up rose hips from last year, which is the fruiting body of the plant. They're actually related to apples, I believe. And these rose hips on here are loaded with vitamin C. So there's no excuse to have scurvy in Alberta. You could probably make a pretty disgusting tea out of it and you'd be just fine if you had a shortage of vitamin C for some reason. So this hasn't bloomed yet, but it will. And these things are everywhere. They're thorny because they are a rose. And they're one thing to watch out for when you're setting up a hammock, because one of these is going to start scratching you underneath if you don't clear them out of the way, and it's not pleasant. been a few hours, and the mosquito coil seems to be holding up pretty good. There's a few of these microscopic fruit fly things, and I'm not sure how the Thermacell even does against them, but it seems to be a little less effective, and I'm thinking that might be the burn rate on the pad versus the coil. It is the same chemical, so probably with 3 coils it would equal the power of Thermacell, and if that holds to be true, I will save thousands a year in butane and pads for the Thermacell. Anyway, we're in bear country and something spooked the squirrels pretty good. They've all scattered and I've got a very eerie feeling because, yeah, I'm in a pretty abandoned campground with no cell service in grizzly country. So, we got an air horn. I don't know how well they work. Probably against the black bear it would work pretty good. I've just looked at them before and they ran, so those things are very skittish. And I've got bear spray also. Again, the jury's out on how well this works. Never had to use it myself, hopefully never will. But some people say it'll make the bear angrier. A lot of good studies have said it works better than a firearm, but I'm in Canada in a provincial park area. So I've never seen anybody packing in a provincial park before. I don't know exactly how legal that would even be. And I'm sure they would frown on that pretty severely. So with the bear situation, the problem is these campsites, the way they're designed, you can see like bacon, grease, food splatters all over this table. This is like 5 feet from where you'd set up a tent if you were tenting. And the fire ring where you're supposed to cook is 5 feet away from this and 10 feet away from the tent. And you can't hang your food up at any of the other sites because there's nowhere to hang your food up without being above somebody else's campsite. And that would not be a good thing for anybody involved. So I'm going to break out butane a lane here and probably cook at one of the empty campsites because they're mostly empty. And, you know, I don't know how much good that'll do considering there's food splattered all over here. The squirrel was fairly interested in that earlier. And I'll have to keep this food cooler in the car with me because this is not a bear-proof container by any stretch. No, there's some slightly more expensive varieties that claim to be bear-proof, like a food locker. But no, this is not one of them. It says locking lid, but as you can see, it doesn't lock very well. This is a good cooler though if you're starting to get into camping and you don't want to spend money on gear. Maybe you don't know if you're even going to like camping. I think $20 camp stove with a $1 thing of butane, $10 little foam cooler, make a nest in the back of your SUV, park her under the stars and just drink in the nature. That's the best way to start to explore camping on the cheap. And if you find a nice site like this, 11 bucks with free firewood, woohoo! Well, I gotta start prepping food. Unfortunately, I gotta cut some onions, and I don't want the whole world to see me bawling my eyes out cutting onions alone in a campsite. I'll be cooking pretty quick here and get out of here in case the park guys come by and see me occupying another site. So, warm up my pan. Today I'm doing the camping version of a Philly cheesesteak. And I love my Philly cheesesteaks. I'm sure it's not the appropriate authentic version, but it's gonna have to do for us. Onion. Green pepper. And a handful of some mushrooms. That's step one. Step two, is we'll add a little step two to it. That should help everything out. Get this thing sauteing, and we're going to move along to step three. I'm not thinly cutting a piece of steak. I just got roast beef, sliced roast beef from the deli. It's already cooked. Certainly not the same And we'll top that off with a little provolone and put it onto a delicious freshly baked roll. That's dinner. Well, that's pretty good. In goes this sliced roast beef. Chop this up a little bit. Now we're getting somewhere. This is smelling fantastic. If I smell it, every other animal in the kingdom smells it, so. A little cheese, yes please. Here's the tricky part, probably because I made too much filling. But oh yeah. This is dinner tonight. Oh yeah. Now that is a camping hot sandwich. Good old non-authentic Philly cheesesteak to warm the belly. That is just what I need. So I'm going to give a shout out to all the magnificent people who have made all the step 2s possible with beer donation gifts, and thank you all so much. Outstanding men, women, children, I don't know who's sending it, but it's really making a lot of things really great. And also a big shout out to all the fathers out there, because I upload Thursdays and Father's Day is coming up Sunday, so big shout out to all the fathers, including mine. And any subscribers and watchers that are fathers, happy Father's Day. It's it can be a hard, thankless job, but I think it's a good job. You guys are all great for following me along, and thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody that's purchased t-shirts and stuff like that. But I'm gonna dig into this real quick, because less talking, more eating. Wow. Here in the luxury back of the SUV, it's actually surprisingly roomy. You can get 2 in here pretty easily, I think. And I'm 5'11", so you know, 6 feet might be a little bit of a push, or any bigger. But you know, there's bigger vehicles than this, obviously. Oh, there we go, a little more light. So I'm gonna hunker down. I'm gonna throw in a little video here to lull me to sleep. I've got my keys with me. Got anything delicious pulled out of the campground and stuck in this passenger seat. If there is a rustle or something, I can jimmy over the seat here and drive away to safety. And I got the windows cracked microscopic amount so that we can breathe fairly comfortably and hear a little bit of the rustle of that stream outside. So I'm gonna hunker down, so to speak, and we'll see you AM in the morning and take a look at this place in a little more daylight. So we'll see you guys in the morning. Oh, this is cozy. Good morning. It's always surprising how cozy an SUV can be with a little bit of a mattress, the windows cracked. No mosquitoes got in, so that's a surprise. Not too much condensations on the windows because they were nice and cracked. Just the back window has some condensation. And if I look outside, beautiful foothills, Rocky Mountain foothills stream. So that's a fantastic way to wake up. Time to get the day started because there's some stuff to do, some breakfast to make. Let's go. I like to make sure the fire's out before I leave the campsite. I'm gonna go to the day use area because they have, I don't want to start a new fire and I have to just put it out in an hour or so. So this one is out, not a single hiss, no steam coming off of there. But the rule is you soak the fire, stir it up, then soak it again and stir it up. But it smells so good out here. Those little, I know this is mostly spruce forest, but there's some pine in here too. And pine sol, or those little tree pine air fresheners, smell nothing like the real thing. It's really, oh, this is the way camping is supposed to smell. It is so nice and refreshing. Love it. Waking up and there's literally 45 seconds to pack things up and away I drive. This is sweet. I'm at a walk-in site in the same park. This would have been a way cooler spot to camp right by the river, but it's a walk-in spot. So breakfast is basically the same thing as dinner, except instead of roast beef, I'll just crack some eggs on it. And instead of provolone, I'm going to use a different cheese, this Texas Mexico cheese. And instead of making a humongous one, I'll make a little one. Smaller breakfast appetite, smaller portions. People have been vandalizing the rocks around here. Unbelievable. Now this smells amazing. Oh yeah, little omelet sandwich for breakfast. Look at that, turned out just fantastic. Got nice melted cheese in there, Texas Mexico cheese. Yum. I'm gonna do this one again. This turned out really nicely. I wasn't that hungry when I sat down, but I am now. Wow. Any day you don't get consumed by an insatiable apex predator is a good day in my books. So that was a completely successful trip. I was really hoping to see a bear at a distance, but who knows? The trip home is not finished yet. So we'll see what happens. I think the hardest thing about being out of cell range and radio range and all that is not being able to communicate with beautiful wife, because I know she's at home and I'm out here, and it's like, you know, you get so used to just sending a message, and you can't do that. So I can't wait to get back up to the top of the hill, shoot her a message and let her know I didn't get eaten by a gigantic grizzly bear, and she'll be very happy to hear that. Then we're going to make tracks back home. So thanks for watching. If you like this type of just regular camping stuff, please consider subscribing, talk it over with the family, see what you guys think, because yeah, I don't do anything too crazy. We're not out here with a piece of string and tape or something trying to, you know, camp. You know, we got proper, like what everybody normally brings when they go camping. So yeah, follow along if you'd like. And thanks for watching this week. See you guys next week.